Have you ever really thought about what goes on inside those gigantic warehouses you see everywhere? The ones that basically run our world? Well, it's way more than just a big building full of boxes. It's this incredibly complex, high-stakes ecosystem. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret life of a warehouse by following one single package on its journey, right from the second it arrives.
And you've got to understand, the stakes could not be higher. This quote says it all, really. Every single thing that happens inside a warehouse is either making the company money or it's a slow, quiet, costly leak. There's really no in-between.
So what is it? What's the secret sauce that separates a profit engine from a financial black hole? Well, we're about to peek inside that black box and find out exactly what makes all the difference. To really get it, we're going to follow the journey of one single pallet of goods. We'll start right at the beginning, the moment it rolls up on a truck. And its very first stop is the loading dock, which you can think of as the high-stakes welcome mat for the entire supply chain. Now, this isn't just some simple doorway. Oh no. The loading dock is the most critical control point in the entire building. And as you're about to see, it's also one of the most dangerous. Get this. According to industry safety reports, a full 25% of all injuries in a warehouse happen right here, on the loading dock. That's 1 in 4. It is a shockingly hazardous place to work. And it's not just the obvious stuff, like falling. The dangers here are everywhere, and a lot of them are kind of hidden. You've got slippery floors, you've got loose dock plates that can just shift on you, carbon monoxide from trucks that are just sitting there idling. Then there's this really dangerous thing called trailer creep, where the trailer just slowly inches away from the dock, creating this huge gap. And that's all before you even factor in the forklifts zipping around. So, now that our pallet has arrived, it has to get inside safely so it can actually be sold. And to do that, it has to pass its very first test, this super precise multi-step process called dock to stock. You can think of it as the first gauntlet. You see, the best warehouses don't leave any of this to chance. It all starts with preparation, getting all the paperwork confirmed before the truck is even on the property. Then they unload and inspect it, looking for any kind of damage. But the most critical step is to verify. Every single item gets counted and scanned to make sure it is a perfect match with the original purchase order. Only after all that is it finally stored, which means it's now officially ready to be sold. Every step is a crucial checkpoint. And believe me, this isn't just busy work. Getting this process wrong is unbelievably expensive. Little manual errors, like a miscount here or a data entry mistake there, can easily cost a warehouse hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. This is ground zero for where a warehouse either makes money or starts draining it. So, how do the best warehouses dodge those costly mistakes? Well, they don't guess, they measure. They have a scorecard for every single part of the operation, and the whole thing is driven by data. And that scorecard is built on something called Key Performance Indicators, or KPIs. The best way to think about KPIs is like they're the vital signs for the warehouse. Like your heart rate or blood pressure. They turn all these complex moving parts into simple, trackable numbers that tell a manager exactly how things are going, in real time. For our pallet's journey, 2 KPIs are absolutely essential. First, receiving accuracy. This basically tells you, did we get what we paid for? It's the most fundamental measure of just being correct. Then you've got dock-to-stock time, which is all about speed. How fast can you get that pallet off the truck, processed, and on a shelf ready to sell? In the world of logistics, time is literally money. Having a super tight receiving process also helps fight a major enemy of every warehouse, shrinkage. That's the official industry term for inventory that just vanishes. It could be theft, it could be damage, or just simple admin errors. But a great receiving process catches these problems right at the front door, before they have a chance to mess with your bottom line. And all of this, every single step, is driving toward the ultimate goal, inventory accuracy. It's all about closing that gap between what your computer system thinks you have and what you actually have sitting on the shelf. A world-class warehouse is always aiming for over 95% accuracy, and believe it or not, that whole quest begins the second our pallet hits the loading dock. Okay, so we get the process, and we know how to measure it with a scorecard. But how do the elite warehouses hit those high scores consistently day in and day out? Well, they don't just hope for the best. They use a playbook. This quote really gets to the heart of a huge problem in a lot of operations. Without a formal, written-down playbook, Warehouses tend to run on what's called tribal knowledge. You know, those unwritten rules that only exist in the heads of the most experienced people. But what happens when that person calls in sick, or goes on vacation, or even quits? All that crucial knowledge just walks right out the door with them. The solution, the antidote to tribal knowledge, is the Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP. This is the official playbook. It's a documented, repeatable set of instructions for a very specific task, like receiving our pallet, and it's written so clearly that any trained employee can do it perfectly, every single time. It replaces guesswork with a reliable, consistent system. And that playbook is really built on a foundation of proven best practices. We're talking about using a warehouse management system, a WMS, for digital real-time tracking. It means standardizing every procedure, every label. It means doing regular audits. And maybe most importantly, it means training your staff over and over again on both the process and, of course, on safety. You put all these together and you start to build a real culture of excellence. And here's the proof that it works. The data shows that by actually putting these best practices into play, a warehouse can slash its receiving errors by up to 40%. That is a massive impact that flows directly to better accuracy and, you guessed it, more profit. So let's zoom out for a second. We've followed our pallet from that chaotic, dangerous loading dock all the way through a precise, measured, and systematized process. So what does this whole journey really teach us about the secret to warehouse excellence? At the end of the day, the secret isn't some kind of magic. It's a formula. It's a great process, like the receiving one we just saw, which is measured by a clear scorecard of KPIs and guided by a proven playbook of SOPs. Process, scorecard, playbook. That's it. That's how you turn a warehouse from a cost center into a true profit engine. And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. As technology and automation take over more and more of the physical work on the warehouse floor, what do you think becomes the most critical human skill that's needed to run the warehouse of the future? Something to chew on.